that thing is super gross.
Let's see if it'll start up. Runs pretty good. You see that PTO pulley just wobbling around. It's ridiculous. A really bad part is back here.
I've never seen a hitch plate that mangled. And you've got this bolt here is about ready to fall out. One of it is no good.
The whole thing. Well, that's just the pan. The whole frame can move like that too. The frame's all wobbly. It's just probably the most beat up one. See if I can get it to idle. Yeah, it's idling. Here we go.
Yesterday when I did this and I got a real lopey idle, you could actually watch the whole frame bouncing on top of the transmission. It was so loose.
There she is. So yesterday pressure washed it, started checking for leaks, found a leak behind the PTO here on the front, actually, which would technically be the rear of the engine, the main crank seal there. So in addition to the head gasket, the valve cover, found that. So the idea now is how far we go with the engine, and let's check and make sure that the crank snout is not boogered up from this bearing having seized over here. So I've removed the grill, what's left of the grill. It's so mangled. I don't know if that'll, I don't know what I'm going to do with that, or any of the paneling, to be honest. I might, like a rat rod type thing. Yeah. Change the oil in it too, just so we're cranking it over and testing things. You know, we're giving it the best chance to live. So we want to check the front crank, and then if the front crank snout looks okay and this engine is worth putting some time and money into, we're going to pull the engine and pull the shroud off, because this is what it looks like back inside there. So this is the intake duct here for the fresh air coming in. And so behind the shroud looks like this. And there were chunks of this stuff just flying out of it yesterday, so I would not use it in the condition that it's in now to be mowing or anything. I mean, to put around, it's no big deal, but that thing's going to get hot. So first step, make sure the crank isn't messed up. If the crank isn't messed up, then it's worth putting a little bit of time into. Put some fresh oil in it, run it, make sure it's not going to start burning oil like a lot of engines do when you start servicing them. So do some steps here and see, get a little deeper into what we've got to work with. The tractor's overall condition is pretty obvious. It's not very good. So let's take a look at the engine and see what we can get. I don't know if I can pull this PTO off of here without pulling the muffler, but I'm going to try to avoid doing that because these studs will snap down in here like they did on the other one, and then it's just a nightmare. There's some tension on that. It looks like the bearing sleeve might have saved it. Maybe. Jeez. There's the what's left of the PTO pulley. Bearings just falling out of it. Oh boy, this is going to be a fun one. Because what do you want to bet? That's not going to want to come off the shaft very well. Oh yeah, it's going to be fun. That's not just going to pop off of there. The good thing is that it looks like the inner race for the bearing is attached to the crank, which probably means the front of the crank is actually in okay shape. Let's see what I can get out of this thing here. I'm going to tap it around and see if it'll move. Maybe? It's going to tell. Get a pair of vice grips on that sleeve. I'm trying to avoid using the puller, but. So there's the inner race. The bearings, you can actually see some of the bearings down in here. They're just falling out, you know. So try peeling that race off of there because that's probably seized. That's probably what's giving us issues. Oh no, it's just gonna do what it wants to do, isn't it? I don't know if it's moving or not. Can't tell. Might have to grab a puller. I don't want to. Well, this is not budging, is it? Might be able to get it popped free by just taking a punch and or a chisel right there and just popping it. Let's see if this. Boy, it has not budged a bit. Wow. Like not even a tiny bit. Nope. That's not going to happen that easily. Not going to get that lucky. Alright, well, I'll let this stuff soak and we'll come back to it and maybe it'll decide it wants to work. If not, we'll bust out the puller and yeah, I think we can run the crank here. We might be able to grab back here and pull the whole thing off with it. I don't know. We'll see. May involve taking the muffler off too. Okay, so I spent some time on this. Letting it soak with penetrant didn't help. Even heat. And I didn't have it glowing hot, but heated it with a map torch and it budged a little bit. You can see it shifted a little. It still was just way too much force required to get it off there. And why not just cut it? So took a Dremel, lined it up with the key slot there so it didn't actually hit the crank. And slit that guy right down the middle. So let's see if it'll pop off now. Should just slide off now. There it is. Here's the old inner race for the front bearing. Crank appears to be just fine. Which it should be, because this thing was seized on there solid. So, now, unplug this. Oh, great. That's alright. Anyway, stuff's probably still hot. Let me grab my gloves. Let's see if this will just. I'm going to slide off there. It looked like it was going to move before.
goes. All right. That way. We'll come out with the muffler there. Don't know. We're trying to take this off with the muffler in place. Now it's close. Here, let's do it as a two-piece. Now I grab my other glove. Take it off as a two-piece. Come on, get back on there. Oh, there it goes. All right. Just a little banging around. So that's off of there now. Once it cools off, I'll take a look at it. Get this off there. Crank bearings seem to be pretty good. So let's fire it up after I change the oil. Now we can really see what kind of leak we've got here. Yeah, you can tell I got the shaft hot, but it didn't hurt anything, so. Yeah, typical. Come on. Yeah.
Alright, I need to check the oil level. We'll come back here and run it for good and give it a good half an hour or so running, and we'll check for leaks again. I don't see any right now. It looked to me like it was like pouring out of here before. It doesn't appear to be that way, but behind the shroud it looks so gross. I'm almost positive if the front seal's leaking, then the rear one probably is too. You can see, I mean, this is just all coated down in here, so we'll take a look. So we cleaned out the air filter, checked stuff in there. There's a little bit of cruft down behind it. So it ran with a marginal filter seal for a while probably. Changed the engine oil, pulled off the PTO, pulled off the grill. Now we're going to run it and check for leaks. So that was just a brief run cycle. I'll run a longer one. I have time to stay out here with it, but the main leak I found right so far is actually a compression leak and oil leak, and it's right here underneath the exhaust port. When you throttle up and it puts a load on that cylinder, you can actually see smoke come out of that hole. And it's already starting to get a little bit wet right down in here. And that's where the head meets the block there. So definitely looking at a head gasket. Otherwise, no major smoke or anything, but again, we haven't put more than a half an hour on it, so I'll have to run it some more and see. I don't see much of a leak from here. It might have been residual from before. So yeah, we'll run it off and then we'll check again and see where we're at. Still need to pull the engine and pull that shroud off, and the front shroud, and clean everything behind there, you know, the stator and the magneto, and make sure it's ready to go, whether it gets transplanted or used in this tractor. And then if it gets used in this one, we're gonna have to fix this muffler. It's in bad shape. It's just blown out completely right there. So, all right, that's where we're at.